Hi, my name is Jen Parga, and today I'm going to describe an exercise that I integrated into a class for school social work students who are displaced by COVID this summer. The assignment was geared towards getting students to think about how they can integrate technology into their practice. But before I get to the specific assignments, I just wanted to let you know a little bit about my background. I first started off as a community organizer in San Diego and served as a program manager with local first generation college students in 3 local high schools. And some of those high schools had 100% free and reduced lunch. So we're really in need of kind of that access pipeline to higher education. We were a small organization and used file folders, phone calls, personal follow up, as opposed to some current versions of electronic communication in terms of health records, Slack, and various other management information systems. So, all this is to say, when I discovered the grand challenge of harnessing technology for social good, I felt like it was really a way to blend my two loves of organizing, social work, and technology. So, the way that this class came about was really because of COVID. And so, the programming was already there in terms of the infrastructure. Like we had this social work, school social work training program for our students who were at school settings. So our children, youth, and family students who were trying to get their pupil personnel services credential (PPSC) in California. And in the summer, traditionally, school placements don't have that much going on. And if they do, it's very minimal. So students really needed that supplemental programming, which was this class. It was called SWIFT, or which was this program. So it's over the whole semester, and essentially they have faculty come in or experts in the field and deliver a presentation to them. So this was my presentation to 65, 67 school social work students who all of them, as I kind of polled throughout the beginning of the session, had never heard of the technology standards in social work from NASW, AASWB, and the Council on Social Work Education. So I really felt like this was a great opportunity to introduce more of the formal process, codes of ethics, and things that we have to integrate technology into social work practice, but also different methods of reviewing apps so they can make an informed decision, which is where the HAPPE app review and guideline handbook comes in or will come in. Some things I sent ahead of time just so students could have kind of a framework for the intersection of technology and social work was the Frederick Reamer article, Ethical Standards for Social Workers' Use of Technology, Emerging Consensus. It gives a really nice summary of the tech standards. It's 65 pages, the tech standards are. So getting a summary of those 4 standards is really helpful for students and made me feel like they would read it before our presentation in their class. The other thing I sent was the BPD Technology Committee Technology Assessment Checklist, which is really great for looking at a technology assessment for individuals, for adults. Obviously, for these students, it was specific to children in school settings. And then there's also a social work self-assessment there, which I feel like is really helpful in kind of introducing students to that concept that they really have the skills in terms of how to utilize technology in terms of consumers or consumption. But as a professional, we really want you to be the have that critical eye and eventually produce technology that will help support clients out in the field. But the way I did it with reviewing apps was I actually created a Google sheet that listed the HAPPE app review guidelines across the top. And I did this because I really wanted it to be a systematic and uniform way that they were all sharing information in terms of their report out. And so I gave them the link rather to the Google Doc, and then broke them out into breakout groups. And like I said, we had 65, 67 students. So we had, I believe it was 18, ended up with 18 groups and who were going to review apps. So I essentially did the breakout groups and then said, okay, Nicole, your group is doing app number 1. Simon, your group is doing app number 2. So they all knew which app to review. So the links or the app listing again was based on the specific guidelines for writing a review from the HAPPE guidelines. So we had the app name, the summary. Well, I'll put the summary at the end, but application name, version, compatibility, price, target audience, bottom line, and I'm just reading it straight from theirs. Likes and dislike, features and options, practice implications, privacy policy disclaimer, and then device used for this review. So I had them go into their groups, type in directly into the Google Doc that review from the HAPPE guidebook. And then if they had time, I said, work on a summary. And Stephen, thankfully, I had pulled or saved his flyer from a conference, I think from 2 years ago, and I'd saved it for just this moment and contacted him and said, hey, if I have these students review, can we work together to finalize them and publish them and really have them see the fruit of their labor per se. And so he of course said yes, and this is how we're coming full circle, and I'm just sharing this with you. The students were so excited when we came back from breakout because the apps, all 18 of them, were apps that a few they had heard of, like Calm, the Calm app, and maybe 1 or 2 others, but all of the other ones, Alarmy was their favorite. And we're just thinking, my gosh, this is going to work so great with my high school students or my middle school students. And just to see them excited about the use of technology and to have a framework to allow them to look at something in a systematic way was just really, really beneficial. So some takeaways that I had was that I only had an hour. So by giving them the content ahead of time, I didn't have much time to kind of digest that material with them and answer questions. So I think an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours would be better. If you really want to dive into kind of like social work and technology, or even give an overview of like how we're kind of slow to adopt technology, or why there might be that hesitation or resistance. So the time frame, and then if you definitely want them to do a summary, I would go for the hour and a half or 2 hours. But otherwise, it was great. The framework, they really didn't have questions. It's really self-explanatory. So I highly recommend it. I'm available if anybody has questions or want to just chat about rolling this out in your class or as an assignment. I'm happy to discuss any of that with you. Again, my name is Jen Parga, and good luck to you. Bye, Don.